So Fareed Zakaria had an honestly incredible and outright courageous segment on CNN, I believe about a week ago or so. So this segment, he's talking about the Pentagon and the military and their actions towards China as well as other entities. It's about 5 minutes long, but I encourage you to watch every bit of it because it's seriously that good.
During his visit to Asia this week, Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin outlined his key concern.
And while we were focused on issues in the Middle East, China has modernized its military. And so our goal is to make sure that we maintain a competitive edge over China or anyone else.
Welcome to the new age of bloated Pentagon budgets, all to be justified by the great Chinese threat. What Austin calls America's edge over China is more like a chasm. The United States has nearly 20 times the number of nuclear warheads as China. It has twice the tonnage of warships at sea, including 11 nuclear-powered aircraft carriers, compared with China's 2 carriers, which are much less advanced. Washington has over 2,000 modern fighter jets, compared to Beijing's roughly 600, according to national security analyst Sebastian Roblin. And the U.S. deploys this power using a vast network of some 800 overseas bases. China has 3. China spends about $250 billion on its military, which is a third as much as the United States. Michael O'Hanlon of the Brookings Institution notes that if China were in NATO, we would berate it for inadequate burden sharing since its military outlays fall well below NATO's 2% minimum. At the height of its imperial might in the late 19th century, when it ruled over a quarter of the world's population, Great Britain adopted a 2-power standard. Its navy had to be larger than the next 2 put together. U.S. military spending remains larger than the next 10 countries put together, 6 of which are Washington's close allies. America's intelligence budget alone, around $85 billion, is much larger than Russia's total defense spending. And yet the U.S. never imagines that this kind of spending could ever be seen by other countries as worrying or threatening. In requesting even more money for his region, the head of the Indo-Pacific Command, Admiral Davidson, remarked on China's increases in defense spending.
I cannot for the life of me understand some of the capabilities that they're putting in the field unless it is an aggressive posture.
But the fact that Washington is spending more on the military than it did at the height of the Vietnam War, even accounting for inflation, should threaten no one. In any case, the size of military spending is a misleading indicator of strength. Far more important are the objective sort and the political military strategy used to achieve those objectives. The U.S. has probably outspent the Taliban by, 10,000 to 1 in Afghanistan. And yet Washington has been unable to achieve its objective there, ensuring that the Kabul government rules the country uncontested. If the United States defines its goals carefully and assembles an intelligent and consistent political and military strategy to achieve them, it can succeed. Without that, millions of troops and trillions of dollars will not guarantee victory. Bigness is not a substitute for brains. Consider 2 contrasting exercises of power. America's F-35 fighter jet program, bedeviled by cost overruns and technical problems, will ultimately cost taxpayers $1.7 trillion, according to a document obtained by Bloomberg. China will likely spend a comparable amount of money on its Belt and Road Initiative, an ambitious set of loans, aid, and financing for infrastructure projects across the world aimed at creating greater interdependence with dozens of countries that are important to Beijing. Which do you think is money better spent? The Pentagon operates in a realm apart from any other government agency. It spends money on a scale and wastes money on a scale that is almost unimaginable. Every government agency is required to audit its accounts. But for decades, the Pentagon simply flouted this law. In 2018, it finally obeyed, paying $400 million for 1,200 auditors to examine its books. Yet it still could not get a clean bill of health. As Matt Taibbi notes in a brilliant expose of Pentagon accounting, the auditors were unable to pass the Pentagon or flunk it. They could only offer no opinion, explaining the military's empire of hundreds of acronymic accounting silos was too illogical to penetrate. The Defense Department has failed to pass 2 more audits. Having spent nearly 2 decades fighting wars in the Middle East without much success, the Pentagon will now revert to its favorite kind of conflict, a Cold War with a nuclear power. It can raise endless amounts of money to outpace China. Even if nuclear deterrence makes it unlikely there will be an actual fighting war in Asia. Of course, there might be budget wars in Washington, but those are the battles the Pentagon knows how to win. Go to cnn.com/Fareed for a link to my Washington Post column this week.
Wow. Okay, so I'm going to be very brief here because I really just wanted to show you the video, and he basically said everything that I could have said and more. I mean, round of applause for him. And you don't see this kind of thing on CNN. First of all, this isn't allowed on corporate media, okay? How this kind of slipped through the cracks is kind of mind-boggling to me, but I don't think we'll be seeing more of this in the future from him. If we do, I think we can expect his exit from CNN, and not willingly. They're probably terminating his contract as we speak. Like, I honestly don't know. I genuinely believe that his job may be in danger. I mean, that's just how rare this is. Like, this isn't allowed, guys. I can't stress this enough on corporate media, okay? There's a window of acceptable conversation, of acceptability, what discourse you can engage in, what you cannot. And this is one of those things that is a no-no for those people. But enough of me rambling there. I wrote down several facts that I wanted to highlight for you to bolster my argument here, okay? It truly takes, like, I honestly can't put into words how much money we not spend, but waste on military, okay? And military related thing. It's honestly, it's staggering the amount of money, time, resources, and all the rest that we put towards military that could be going to other places. So, I mean, he said a bunch of things that I had no clue of, okay? Starting off with, this new China threat, okay? So, we had the Cold War, and then we had the War on Terror, and, they kind of hit a dry moment, and then it's Russia, and now it's China, and they just keep finding new things, okay, to make it seem like they're out fighting for justice. And we all know that's not what they're doing, okay? They have a long history of being corrupt, the military-industrial complex. If you want to talk about overthrowing foreign governments in Latin America, to staging coups, to doing whatever, okay? These people are absolutely vile and reprehensible. So he points out here, when talking about China, the United States has 2,000 fighter jets. Beijing has 600. We have 800 military bases overseas, all around the world. China has 3. China has a military budget of $250 billion. That's only 1/3 as much as ours. The intelligence budget, which is $85 billion of the U.S., the intelligence budget alone is larger than Russia's total defense spending. We're outspending the Taliban, he says, he speculates, around 10,000 to 1 in the war in Afghanistan. But somehow they still rule the country. And I love how he says, I can't remember the exact quote, but he said, might doesn't equal something. I don't know. But he's basically saying that just because you spend a lot of money on something, if you don't have the correct strategies and the correct methods, you won't get your desired outcome. And that has been put on blatant display in Afghanistan. We've been there, 18 years now, 17, 18 years, and nothing has changed and nothing is going to change. Okay? He says the F-35 program, for the F-35 plane, I've made a video about this plane before, this is the plan that doesn't work, by the way. It's going to cost taxpayers $1.7 trillion. Okay. He says the biggest is not a substitute for brains. That's what he said. China, you saw Lloyd Austin there at the beginning. China has modernized its military, fear mongering. As we just pointed out, their military budget is only a third of ours. He says that we have to maintain the competitive edge with China, Warhawk, or anyone else for that matter, China or anyone else. We have over 20 times more nuclear warheads than China, twice the amount of warships at sea, but yet somehow they are the threat. And Fareed Zakaria points out, rightly so, that we should be looked at as others as a threat for our insane spending. You see how when China does an increase in spending, or anybody else, Iran, whoever the case may be, does an increase in military spending, we, oh my God, why are they spending so much on military? Look at us. We spend more than the next 10 countries, 6 of which are our allies. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And they tell you we can't do things like free college or nationalize the health system. Bullshit. Bullshit. Don't believe any of it. And if anybody tells you, whether it's a politician, your friend, your uncle, I don't care who it is, that we need to be doing this, that we need to be in the Middle East causing all types of chaos, that we need to be spending billions upon billions on military, they're full of shit and they're lying. Okay? This was a phenomenal segment by Fareed Zakaria and CNN. And, you really hope to see more stuff like this from them, but you never know.